right, that's recording. Cool, 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 cool.
You need to make a checklist before you start.
Yeah, it's the new system that I'm using when I hit. Anyway, yes, I need a fucking checklist. All right, so now that I've got everything in order here on my side, so we had talked a little bit already about primitives here. So we have our bool, int, string, float, double, uh, character. I hate saying char, so I have to, and I hate saying care, so I just have to say the whole thing, or I'll blow my brains out. We had talked about what each of these actually do, what kind of data they store. Um, One thing we did not talk about, however, is a default value. So let's use an example here. If my gold amount right now, we instantiate it as 0. But what if I didn't give it a value? What if I just said gold amount and saved it, and at no other point did I do I say what gold is? What do you think happens to this int value for gold amount? What do you think it defaults to if it's not given a value?
Could be 0.
Anybody think anything else? Good, because 0 is correct. So if we don't put anything in here, it's going to default to 0. And that's important to know because there's cases where things could break if you forget to initialize what your data is. And it's also good to note that if you know you're going to start at 0, you don't need to initialize it. So since our gold amount is going to start at 0, unless told otherwise, we don't have to give it a value here. So we can change that number. For our upgrade costs and excuse me, in our upgrade increment, however, those are not going to start at 0, so those need a value. Peasant amount, we can now move that down to 0. Or sorry, we can move that to empty because we know it's going to start as 0. Our delivery amount, how much gold they bring, it says 0, but that is actually not true. The amount of gold that they bring is going to be a input that we actually need. But I'm going to say, so I'm going to start that at 1. Why is our delivery increase also lower? We're going to say by 5. I don't know why those values are set to that. Um, okay, so if we know that int is 0, what about these other ones here? Let me clear these. So we're going to talk about our defaults. Doodle doo doo. All right, and we need string. So what do you think a default is for a boolean? So boolean is a true or
True.
false. So by default, you think it's a true. Does anybody think that it's false as a default?
Well,
Fitty fitty shot, baby.
maybe true.
So the default for a boolean is actually false. And the reason that it's false is because a boolean acts typically like a state management machine. So it's typically like, is something doing something? By default, if we're checking it, it's going to sit itself as a false because automatically turning itself on is it's kind of like a programmatic less likely. If I need a boolean, it's because I need to check whether I've turned something on or off. And for some reason, false is like the default, but that's kind of like the thought process behind it is that if we don't say that it's true, it's going to start as false because we're going to
I mean,
assume,
that kind of makes
yeah,
sense.
right, yeah, like it's kind of like a you kind of get the vibe for that. For our int, we know that it's 0. What do you think a float's default is, which is a decimal?
It should also just be
Oh,
0.
0, right?
Yeah, 0f. What do you think a
Yeah.
double's default is?
0.
Yeah, also a 0. Now, what do you think a character's default is?
Probably null.
Yeah, I
So,
think it would have to be defined as null.
so we don't really define things as null. So there's never a situation where null is a definition. If instead something is empty, we define it with this. So it's just there's just nothing here. It's just there's nothing. So it's defined with this. It's the same concept as null, meaning that it's not there, but it's closer to undefined. A null means that it's more like a broken piece of data that could not be found at all. So instead, it's more of an empty. And this works the same way with the string. It has no value, so it just returns nothing. It's empty, undefined, but not necessarily null. Um, let's see. Is there any examples of that we can use? Yeah, so here's string empty. So whenever we go to the set the message to change the message on the Unity screens for changing this message. If we do the string dot empty, all that's doing is setting it back to a default value of just the empty quotations. Because in our string and in our character, we define that by those quotation brackets. Boot, boot, boo, boo. Um, all right, let me see if there was any other important notes that we didn't go over that I really wanted to go over real quick. Let's see. Cool, we haven't reached the other stuff yet. Bam. Go ahead and save that. All right, and so if I remember, our next goal is to prepare being able to purchase peasants with said gold. And before we do that, there's a little bit of cleanup I would like to do in terms of what our UI looks like when we haven't pressed play yet, just so that it's consistent with what it's going to look like the moment I press play. So right now we've got a 0 value here, we've got plus 5G here, tap negative 5G here, and then when I press that, everything reverts to the defaults we had before we kind of continued building everything. So to prevent confusion when working on stuff so that I don't have to press play every single time I want to be updated to how things are going to update, we're going to go ahead and just clean that up real quick. So that should be our gold earn button, gold earn text. Goes what? Plus 5G. Make sure that's right. Press play. These spaces. Space for the plus. All right. And then our actual gold amount. And our resources. Set to 0. And last one should be upgrade gold cost. Negative 5G, right? Let's see. Perfect. 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 Professionals. Can everybody see my cursor?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay. So next we need to take the existing gold and spend it to purchase a peasant. And then we need to update the actual amount of peasants that we have. And then after we've done that, we can build our delivery system. And then let's go ahead over here to our code. So we currently already have our upgrade gold click, and we have our gold per click. Let me clean up some of these comments just because sometimes when we're just recapping, looking at a bunch of comments can get more difficult than it needs to be. Bunk. Bunk, 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 bunk. And we'll kill these because we don't have our delivery system yet. Okay. So if we wanted to create the ability to purchase a peasant, Obviously, the first thing that we need is to actually have gold. And then we want to connect this peasant button to the function to actually do this. So if we're looking back here at our code again, what is the first thing you think we should set up? We should probably just go straight into, let's just say, purchase peasant, because that's what we do in the real world. We purchase our peasants. Okay, so to purchase a peasant, we know that we require gold. And if we do have that gold, we are then going to do what?
Uh, subtract. Well, first recognize what we click, and then or that we press the button to upgrade, and then subtract the cost, and then make said upgrade.
Cool. So first we need to see if we have enough gold. So we're going to say if our gold amount is greater or equal to the cost of a peasant. Let's see. Peasant upgrade cost, no. Delivery, so upgrade. That's to upgrade the cost. So this is to upgrade the actual peasant. Let's move these around just to make it a little clearer, because delivery is going to be different. So the amount of peasants, this is the cost to upgrade a peasant. This is how much the upgrade goes up each time we get a peasant, but we don't actually just have a peasant cost. And we will just leave it as a 5 for right now. Well, no, we have it set here as a 10, so we're going to do a 10. And then to upgrade it, some of our text here is wrong for our default, making that more confusing. So if we were to purchase a peasant at 10 to then upgrade that existing peasant, doesn't make sense to make it also less. So I'm going to say 15 to upgrade that peasant, because upgrading a peasant is going to increase how much gold they're able to deliver. And the actual cost of a peasant is the upgrade increment. Okay, so it's going to go up 10 each time. All right, so let's just get that working. So if the gold amount peasant cost, or let me say less than actually, and we're just going to do our return here. Well, no, we need messaging. Since we need messaging, I actually do need to do a full check, because we have a condition to meet to send this message. So we're going to say not enough gold to not enough gold to hire, not enough gold to upgrade.
So I can't quite remember. There's something that we did last time. You had said it was essentially kind of like a shortcut to where we wouldn't have to do you wouldn't have to do the full check. What was the step to keep us from having to do a full check?
So if we didn't set, really the only change is that we would, let me just do this. We would just say, we'd put the condition and then we would just say return. That's the same thing. so it's a kind of shorthand. But since we actually need to do something, um, the goal of this would be stop here and do nothing else. But since we actually need an input value, we're going to go back to actually having our bracket open and close, and then we're going to put the thing that we need to actually do when this condition is met. So this is the condition. If we wanted to shorthand, and then hey Michael, how's it going? No worries. Yeah. So sorry, did that shorthand make sense? All we're doing is checking a return because we're not
Oh,
we're not checking any value, so we just stop there and do nothing. But since we need to check a value, we have to create our brackets and then put in our value of what it is that we're going to do if this condition is met. Make sense?
yep. Wasn't
Cool.
sure if there was something else I was forgetting.
I'm in my head. I'm like, I think there was something else, but that would have been the shorthand that I put just now. So if there's something else that I remember, I'll try to go back to it. But at the moment, that's what I was going to do. So I think that was the actual result. So we're checking if our gold amount is, God, I always get that so confused, is greater or equal than the peasant cost is incorrect. We want it to be less than or equal to our peasant cost to say that we don't have enough gold. Oh, no, just less than, not equal. Only less. Because if it's equal, we can still take from that. So we only need to check if I don't have enough gold to cover the peasant cost. And if so, we're going to put that message here in our UI. Otherwise, we're going straight to actually adding peasants. So to do that, we're going to pretty much do similar math here, except we are working with the peasant stats. So we have the peasant amount, peasant cost. And let's see if we can do this in one roll using this as our reference. So the first thing is we're going to remove the actual cost. So gold amount removes the peasant cost. After we remove the peasant cost, the peasant cost equals gold amount. No, that's definitely horrible intelligence. We need to increase the cost for the next peasant. So the peasant, I think it's cost is now, let's double check. So peasant upgrade cost, peasant upgrade increment. So that controls that. We have an upgrade increment, upgrade cost, increment, gold per click. Because we want this value to go up by how much? Because this cost this is separate. Yeah, so we have to have another value, right? So it's going to go up by that value. This is the same thing that we ran into with the gold upgrade, where we set a flat value to replace it. And so here it's plus equals the gold per click increment. And did we end up reverting it? I think we ended up reverting it and going with the basic concept instead. So I'll try to keep to that. I hate math. So the cost has to go up. Peasant. The increment, right? That's what we call it, peasant cost. I'm going to call it cost increment, just so that I know exactly what it is when I'm reading it later. So if it's 10 now, it's going to be 20 again. It's going to be 20 later. And then I want to separate these. And then our actual peasant amount should go up. Peasant amount goes plus equals Oh, we don't even have that value. So pleasant cost, we need public int peasant amount increment. How many we actually go up? Actually, we know it's going to go up one every single time. I'm going to be that guy and I'm going to hard code it. Or am I not? Am I not going to do it? Am I going to hard code it? Uh, I'm not going to hard code it. The only reason that I'm not going to hard code it is because even though we know it's always just going to be one every single time we click that button, if I hand this guys to you and say part of the challenge is to come up with a situation where you might get more than one peasant per hire, this value will be ready, rather. Even though it'd be a good challenge for you to go and add this, we have plenty of other things you'll have to add later. So we're going to say peasant amount increment, which is
What do you
1.
mean by hard code?
So by hard code, so we created here the peasant amount increment equals 1. But if I go down here, I could say is 1 because we know it's always going to be 1. But by putting this here, this is called hard coding it, where we're not adding it against a value that is a variable. We're adding it against a specific one-time value that is only defined here in this method. And by doing that, we risk, whenever there's bugs, having a harder time figuring out what's going on. I could do like a local variable here, but that would still create the same problem because we don't know what this value is. If I say it's just plus equals 1, like we know where the goal of this number is to increase that, but this value itself, it doesn't have a name. And while that's safe in this instant, if we were to scale this infinitely to an actual real scale game, this lingering number with no name essentially would break stuff. So by putting this here instead, we know that if there's something wrong with adding the peasant amount, that we can refer to the peasant increment to figure out what that value is supposed to be. And so now all of our data that's being adjusted and being messed around with is all in one place instead of having to hunt for where is it that we're changing the amount of peasants or something like that if something were to break later. But hard coding means just to use a value that doesn't have a name, or we are going to set a value kind of you could say hard coding as locally as well. So like a local value is kind of hard coding sometimes. Um, but usually it's like changing one value to another without putting that name. So another example would be if we have a if we have a string and its value is start, and then we say string equals end, we are hard coding to change start to end. What we would want to, well, I need to actually give it a real name so that it actually makes sense. So let's say string race status. So the race status is that it's starting. And then we want to say later race status is now ending, or we'll say finished. And then let's say later on, I go to reference race status and finished isn't found anywhere. Like we're not using the term finished. Instead, we use the term finish and it's breaking. Or we need to flip flop between starting and finish like 50 times. And every single time that we have to make that change to race status, I have to manually type in that race status is now finished. But to protect myself from that hard coding situation, I would instead say I would create another value called um, race completed equals finished. And then what I would do is say race status equals race complete so that I never have to worry about misspelling what finished status actually is. Does that make sense?
I think so.
So it's basically we're preventing from having to repeat data is basically the concept. If I wanted to change the peasant amount anywhere else than purchase peasant, if I wanted to go anywhere else and change that amount every single time, I would have to say
An
it's
upgrade tree where
I
you
would
would
have
add.
I would have to say it's plus equals whatever value I want that peasant amount to change somewhere else. But by having a controlled increment, I can just adjust the increment every single time, and all of my code throughout the program that is being is adjusting peasant amount can use this one space for data instead of me having to manually type in what that new data value is going to be. I can just go and adjust the actual peasant amount increment.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Yeah, it was the race part was the one that was a little like
Yeah,
ah,
I was like,
but
I was trying to come up with a different example, but I guess I should have stuck to the guns.
yeah. But in the example that we're doing that, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's just
And I
so
can definitely see how
yeah,
that could get really sticky.
it's super sticky. Let me make sure nothing is exploding. Okay, nobody's exploding. All right. So we remove the gold for the peasant. We increase how much it takes to purchase a peasant, and then we increase the amount of peasants that we actually have. That should technically be all we need here that I can think of. We're gonna go test that and find out. Uh, we need to attach that to, let's see, hire peasant. Okay, so that's buying a peasant is right here. Our toggle button is kind of annoyingly in the way. Oops. Oops, I didn't switch it over, did I? Did I switch over to game now? There we go. Um, so this is just in my way, so I'm going to move it kind of cattywampus, not where I want to place it. This is just where I'm going to put it right now so that I don't have to make any crazy changes. So we have the hire peasant button, which is right here because this is our buy, the stuff that we're going to buy. We can currently only buy peasants. And we have our upgrade peasant, and their text is the same. So we're going to just change that. So we're going to say,
Peasant
if,
population.
yeah, this button for the upgrades is to increase the delivery amount. So let's say delivery, uh, we're going to do negative 10G just so we know that it's delivery that we're upgrading. And then, yeah, we can say pop. I actually like using the word pop to like increase our population. Pop. We can do that. Negative 10G is the value that we started with. Peasant cost is 10 out the gate. Now we need to take the higher peasant button and we need to actually give it an on-click functionality. So again, we're clicking on the actual button itself, and then our inspector fills up with everything that's inside the button. We're going to hit this plus button on the click, and we need an object to reference where functionality comes from, which is our game manager. Our game manager contains the player stat script, which is right here. And then we're looking for purchase peasant. And actually, since we're going to change that to population, maybe we.
Actually, your screen's kind of covering the.
Oh, my camera is covering it? Go figure. All right, 1 second. All right, 1 second. Let's do.
Just decrease
Oh,
the
God.
opacity. You got that Ghost Ryan.
I just need to move the camera to the opposite side. Bam! Bam! Uncover up the console log instead. I'll have to come up with another camera angle later. There we go. Anyway.
Just weirdly be in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. Just be like right in the dead center. Or like move where I move the mouse, so it's just like my camera following it. Alright, so our game manager has our player stats. We have our hire peasant button. And we are attaching the game manager to the on-click functionality. So what it looks like beforehand is just empty. So we hit the plus, we have our empty object, passing the game manager over to it. We're grabbing the player stats component from the game manager, which contains our scripts. And we're using the purchase peasant system. And by now clicking, we will run the purchase peasant functionality. Let me go ahead and go over here, press play. And so right now we should also get, if I press this, not enough gold to hire. If I press 5, get 10, and I click this, we now spent the gold, but we forgot a couple of things. One being our actual population didn't upgrade,
Little BRB.
and we didn't get rid of the message after we fixed not having enough gold. So let's take a look at that real quick. Here's our gold earn text. That's not right. We're going to be in our resources. Gold amount is attached to, let's see, we have our UI controller. Our canvas contains our UI controller. So let's go back to our code. Let's look at our UI controller. We've got gold text, gold upgrade text, gold click text, and we need to handle a couple of different things here. So we need, I'll take the free TMP there. Okay. So we need the peasant count text. Actually, I like population a lot more. It's peasant pop text. And since we're not defining what it is, that means it's default for a TMP text. TMP text values are strings, so that just means they're empty. I'll take that freebie one there. And then we need also the peasant pop upgrade or hire text, because we need to know how much it's going to be to hire it. And then while we're here, we might as well put in the other values, which are do the thing. Come on, you just did it for everything else. Now you don't want to do it for me. It is peasant upgrade text. So that is whenever we want to increase our delivery amount. And is there any others? Let's see, is there any others that we might just want to put on here? Let's do the delivery message. Well, no. Yeah, that's not what we want to call it though. So we need this value here, our delivery time text. So go back, TMP. Oop. And we will call it delivery timer text. Okay, I'm not going to set this yet because we don't have the delivery system built, so I don't want any super cool fun errors. All right, so let's see what we got. Oop. We've got some string conversions going on. We've got our gold system going on. We probably need to convert our peasants' population and cost, just like we did here. So this is cost per the amount of peasants we have. We probably need to convert those as well. So let's do this. Ding, ding, ding. Hell yeah. So now the messages is running every frame to keep up with all of our UI text and what it should say. And we have the gold text because the dot text is technically the component inside TMP text that is running where the string goes. And then we discussed setting up an expression inside a string, which is what this money sign is. And we do that here with the conversion of player stats, gold per click. So the int value gets converted into just a number or just into a string. And gold text only needs to be the actual value. So let's do that for our population as well. If we look back at our game, gold currently just says 0. Our peasant population has the P, and our delivery timer here has its own value. So as soon as I make the change to the peasant, if I were to keep the peasant at just a 0 as well, just to directly format it without creating a whole bunch of extra text, just to keep things in line, we don't have anything to help separate it to make it kind of look good when I'm looking at it. So we're going to do a tiny little adjustment, and I'm going to go in here. Is the game displaying right now? Is Unity displaying? Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And we're going to go ahead and set up those panels. If you remember the example image we found online, we're going to kind of replicate that with some placeholders just for that design real quick. So let's go into resources, UI, and we're going to create another panel. And it's going to get angry at us. We're going to call this just spacer UI. It has nothing to do with itself other than to take up space. And then we're going to scale it. So its job is just to take up a certain amount of space. Wish I could round it. That would be cool if I could round it. Instead, we will just say, need to see my grid more. 1, 2, 3 squares. We'll do 3 squares. And then we will do 2 squares. And then how many across? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do 7 and see if we can duplicate that size-wise to make sure it fits, or if we need to increase it. Do another, and we're going to put that behind peasants. How many across? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go to 5. And then let me do one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then does that give me 3 over here? Yes, it does. So we got 3 spaces over here, 5 in between each value, 3 spaces over here. They are perfectly even with each other. So we are then going to now adjust our values. So this is going to be this is delivery time, but we're going to still set it to what it would start looking as. So it's going to be 5 by default, and we're going to stretch it to the size of the spacer. That is not the right thing. We don't want the yellow. We want this. So let me get that yellow back. And we're going to move this back here. And then we are going to center that value. Perfect. Then we're going to go to our peasant amount. We're going to adjust, oh boy, just it to that size. And then we're going to set it to 0 and center it. Hell yeah. And then we're going to go over here to gold amount. Move that over here. And then what are we going to do? We're going to center it. And then to specify what they are, we're going to add one more little tidbit. Let me see if I can, inside the spacer UI, I should have did this first. But here we're going to go UI, we're going to say image, and oh, heck. We will just call it spacer icon. Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, I should have did this first, but that's okay. Make sure that matches the panel perfectly. If I hold shift, that will allow me to size everything correctly. We're going to go bam. So they need to copy that. And let's see if I can paste it directly. So paste this child, keep local transform. Bam. Yeah. Same thing right here. Paste special, paste this child, keep the local transform, because the local transform is the transform of the parent. And then we're going to go back to our gold amount, peasant amount, and delivery time text. And we're going to make a slight, oh, I can't mass adjust that. Over here, and we're going to move it like that. Go over here, move it to that, because this white space is going to be our icon to tell us what this actually is. Great. So now on these icons, the icons themselves, I wonder if I can just, can I say text? Nope. Just can't add spacer icon because it's an image, already added a game object. Pooh. So that means I have to do another. Because I gotta do another one. And we're gonna say,
Yo, dog, I heard you like images, so I'll put an
yeah,
image to go with your image.
yep. So we're gonna say
Images
spacer,
in Unity are like onions,
yeah,
layers.
spacer text. And so we're gonna save ourselves another change here, even though I'm gonna hate myself as soon as I do this, but we're just gonna do it because this was what would have been correct. So what would have been correct is I designed one of these, make it a prefab, and then duplicate the prefab. So we're gonna kill that, and we're gonna kill that, and we're gonna just fix finishing this one. So we have the UI, we have the spacer, we have the text, and the text is going to be black. And we are going to put the value. So we're going to say that this one is, the very first one is our delivery. So I'm just going to put a D here for now and make it center. And then we will replace these with images later in life. Just make sure everything matches up. Wham bam. And then put it in the center. Huzzah. All right. And then we're going to take this spacer UI, drag it down over here into our assets. So it is a prefab. And then we are going to duplicate. And then we're going to move it back. Wham, bam. Duplicate. And move it back. Now if we need to make any changes to it later on, like replace this with an image, we only have to do it to one of them. But each one of these text is different. This one is our peasants. And this one is our gold. And spacers are fine there. The only thing that annoys the shit out of me is I wish I could like remove this blue line for these situations so that I don't have to keep thinking that I need to save the prefab because that's what this blue line is telling me. This blue line is telling me that we need to save this prefab to override it so that it knows what it is
You could
until we.
just unprefab it.
You could unprefab it to get rid of that blue line, but then I would have the problem of needing to update all of these individually again. But later, what will happen is we'll have the actual image field will be something that we can drag and drop so that the prefab is waiting for an image instead of us just putting in an icon here. So that way we never have to worry about that. We still have a uniform prefab, which one of these days we'll get there. But now our values, we press start here. So we know our gold is going up. We purchased that, not enough gold. We didn't increase this yet. And the reason we don't increase that is because we need to go back here to our code and actually finish our messages system. So we know we need the population to be a string converted because we want just the value. There's no message. So string, we will call it peasant pop string equals. So we have our player stats dot gold per click dot to string. What do we need for player stats to put the string
As an
for?
amount.
Yep, player stats dot peasant
Capital P.
amount. What? Capital P? That shouldn't be.
Yeah, that
Oh,
needs to be
that I did. Okay, yeah. Good catch. That would have been a fun error. It doesn't like me doing that. Did I spell it wrong? What
You
doesn't
need
it
a two
like?
string.
Oh yeah, I need to finish the two string. That's why. Yep, you're right. Two in a row. Look at you. You're on a roll.
Third one's gonna be a flunk, baby.
Hell yeah. Time to uninstall Unity. No, all right. And then we need to just say our peasant pop. Nope, not pop string. It's just our, what do we call it? Peasant pop text. Text equals peasant pop string dot text. Okay, so that fixes that one. And then we need to put the actual the upgrade together. We aren't going to do a conversion for it, so we're going to call it, we're going to do it just like this, just like an expression here. And it is our peasant pop higher text dot text equals we called it pop on there, so on the button itself we called it pop. This, and we need our actual value. Let me just finish the string here so it stops breaking. And then our player stats. This is the purchase cost, so it should just be peasant cost. And it is the minus with a G at the end, because this is the value. What else we got? Let's see if that's working.
What else?
Okay, let's press play. Oh, something's not happy. What do we got? No reference. Ah, our canvas does not have the actual text values assigned to it that we added, that we are now requesting to change. So let's update those. Our peasant population text is our peasant amount. Our peasant pop higher text is hire peasant, upgrade cost. Wait, nope, wrong one. That is hire peasant. And then naming for that is also wrong. So let me fix that. So this is not this is not upgrade cost. This is higher cost. Higher peasant, higher cost, upgrade peasant, upgrade cost. Clicking on the canvas again, it has a controller, higher cost, higher text, upgrade text, upgrade cost, delivery timer text. We haven't technically built that yet, but let's blow it up. And let's see if it breaks by adding these that we haven't actually set yet. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. All right. There's our gold going up. Let me purchase a peasant. Oh, yeah, girl. And the pop value went up. Oh, yeah. Ooh, not enough gold to hire, baby. We just got to reset that message. And we are now setting these two values. We have that loop. We can do that here in a second. Let's set our
Couldn't we
message.
just uniform the not enough gold to blank with a timer for all of them?
Um, you could, but that message might not be a not enough gold message. The message could be anything that you want to tell the player on input interaction. And you could make something to be like the message is not enough gold for insert action. Like you could create a list of actions that would
Yeah, like
autofill that.
defining the error message.
Yeah, you could do that. Um, to do that properly, we would do like a switch statement to be like, what is the interaction or something. We have to think through it a little bit more. The method that we have right now is very primitive and kind of rudimentary, but you're correct. We could build predefined, like whatever the action is, whenever we press that, we could have something that's like like the default message, not enough gold, and then there could be an expression, for um, action
I
name.
mean, couldn't we just define the not enough gold as a like error message and then on like a uh update so it's constantly checking for an error, it deletes it after like 2 seconds or something?
Yeah, we could create a timer for it. We're about to build a timer system for the delivery stuff. So when we do the delivery stuff, I was going to put in a timer for the message, so
Okay.
that it will go away. But for right now, we're just doing kind of like a toggle for when we're done, um, just to keep things kind of simple, kind of following the same path. But yeah, we could definitely put a timer in. We would have to set the timer up separately to manage messages. So basically, we have to have a stop it, Peanut. Oh my gosh. Here, we could probably just say, I bet you we could make something simple. Peanut, stop. I can't type with you grabbing at my hands. Stop it. Let's say reset message string message, and it's just going to be is message. We don't even need to do that. We just say we don't even need to pass in a message. We're just going to make it empty. So we're just going to say string dot empty because that's all we're doing is resetting it. And let's see, if we call set message, we could put the request for time here. Um, let's do. I can't remember if we can just do a wait for seconds without a loop. So let's see if we can do that. Come here, you little robot son of a bitch. Let's see. We'll just do it right here. Can we use a wait for seconds to wait about 3 seconds before running reset? Running a reset message to empty out the message after a time, or do I need to build out a time reference entirely? If I have to do a time reference entirely, we're not going to do it right now. But if I can just do a wait for seconds or something super simple right here, we'll put it in. It's going to make me go to the chat window for it. Oh God. Oh geez.
Lovely.
Oh Christ. All right. Oh my God. It wants to do a coroutine. Yeah, we're not doing all that. We're not doing coroutines for this right now. That's way too. That's in the future. We're not doing that. All right. Tab to accept. Alt delete 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 delete. Yeah, we're not doing that right now. But technically, I won't even need to reset message. I would just put timer in here. Then when time hit, feedback text equals string.empty. So we don't even need this unless we can come up with a reason as to why we might need to do it programmatically. But it's technically, since we're using string.empty, we're not hard coding anything, so we're safe to just reset stuff there. So I'm just going to put a note for that, and we'll come up with a way to reset that message differently later on. But for now, we want to do it inside of our player stats, which happens when we properly are able to purchase a peasant. And so that's, oh, look, it knows. Bam, bam. Look at you, you little robot. Yeah, UI controller.set message, and we're just passing in that empty string to update set message to be empty. And let's just go back to the game. And let's just check that it sets that value. Okay, not enough gold to hire. And there we go. Okay, cool. So it goes away. So that toggle for right now will do, and we will get rid of that UI later. Or we could be real dicks and make you click a little X button to dismiss the. You want to
That would be
dismiss it?
great. Oh, you have to pay gold to dismiss it.
Yeah, you have to pay gold to dismiss it.
Yeah.
It's actually a monetization system. So in order to automatically dismiss notifications, it's $10 a month.
But is it 100 gold each time it increases?
Say that again.
It says it's first time payment's 100 gold
Oh
and it
yeah,
increases after that.
yeah, every single time. Yeah. Like, oh God. All right. So now that we have our loop to purchase the actual peasants, we can get our gold. We can upgrade how much our gold per click is. And now we want to start purchasing all of our beautiful peasants to do their jobs. And whenever we have these peasants, they're going to start the delivery process. And then once we finish the delivery process, we'll then upgrade the delivery process. See, it's 7:13 right now. What I want to do before we move into the delivery process, there's a lot of naming convention problems. And so whenever I talk about naming convention problems, it's an issue that happens when you're kind of brainstorming things all at the same time. So we have peasants and we have gold. And in our code, we have peasant population. In our UI, we have hire, like we have a bunch of different terms to deal with peasants. So those terms that we all have is population, hire, upgrade, delivery, all of these different terms. Some of them mean exactly the same thing. And because the terms are different, looking at the code and then looking at the UI, you can't immediately make the connection that these things are related. So what I want to do is look at our UI because our UI actually makes more sense to base what we're going to change the naming to in the code, because the UI changes are made to make a better user experience. And the better user experience will also translate to us as the developer by keeping our naming conventions up to date with it, so that when we're looking at the UI and it feels clean and it makes sense, that ease translates over to the code. So if we want to, for example, use population, even though we're referencing peasants, then when I look over at my code, I don't want to see just peasants. I want to see population somewhere, so that I know these things are connected and I don't have to remember in my brain. I don't have to store the data in my brain that peasant means population. So let's kind of look at that real quick before we make too many more changes, because we're going to start getting kind of weird. So right now, in terms of the game, our theme is, we have, you know what? I just remembered something. Let me see if I can replicate. Ready? See if we can do this. And we're going to do that. I'm going to click on this. And we're going to do that. And with that like that, then go over here and I can put that. Yeah, that's what that was. That's what that was for earlier. I was like, why did I have it over there in front of the inspector like an idiot? I was like, oh, yeah, it's because I had the notepad in the corner instead of the game in full. Anyway, so we have in our UI here, our theme is peasants are delivering the gold. If we say it's pop for population, now population can be anything. And so there's a question of, do we need to say peasants in code and in UI to keep the theme? So think about that for a second. If we were to change the wording from peasants and removed peasants from the entire word system, and in the UI changed also the term instead of peasants to being population, would that ruin the theme?
It really does depends on how tongue in cheek you want the game to be. Because if you want to be like an overlording king, then it would be peasants instead of population.
Yeah.
Just kind of depends on you, the developer.
Well, so let's think about this for a second. So what does population mean, right? So the population can be, it's how many people.
Citizens.
Yeah, it's how many people, right? So it's how many people into what? Like if our theme was, uh we're in Atlantis, population is still a term that makes sense for the amount of people in Atlantis. If we're doing Civ and we're talking about Rome, population still works as a term for determining the peasants. I would actually argue that changing things to the word population makes it where this becomes a template where you could make it any theme, and the concept of peasant is something that you have to display through your graphics, through the tone of the game, like through the actual visuals. So by moving the words from peasant and moving it into population, population is more correct because that's the system that we're building. We're building a population control system. We're not necessarily building a peasant control system. It's population control. And that can be
Yeah,
applied to any form of thing that needs population. Does that make sense to you
the
guys?
Illuminati want to know your location. Population control.
Yeah, but yeah. The hand of God strikes again. So I would argue population works for building this system so that you could theme it later on in life if you wanted to change not being about peasants but still being about people. Having a population control system makes it modular for you in the future. So I
Yeah,
think
it's
that
definitely a good
it's a
template.
general term, and it allows us to not restrict ourselves to the theme and allow the graphics and the design to dictate the theme rather than our basic UI system and our code. So let's move over and let's see how much shit we're going to break. So let's see. So we haven't missed the click button. We got player stats. Let's bring that back over here. So we don't need to miss the click button. Let's go into UI. We're going to do Control F. We're going to type in peasant. So we have peasant pop text. So look, we're even stating, so peasant pops are saying peasant population. We're defining that it's peasants, which this would be what we have to do if we're managing multiple different populations. We have Rome, we have Atlantis, we have the peasants in the village, we have the kingdom's population and the village population. If those things were separate, we would then define that it's the peasant specifically population. But we're going to do just one population for this game. And so to unify everything, we're going to break this down. We're just going to say pop text. Then we're going to break this down and just say pop higher text. And we're going to remove the term higher because if we look at our game, we just say by pop. We don't say hire anymore. We're saying our population. We're not hiring peasants. We're increasing our population. Do we want to change? See, now that's the question, is if we say population increase for the button, if that kills the theme, we could use an
So,
go ahead.
so it's kind of like knowing when you need to be very specific
Yeah.
for your naming for your code, so that way it's simplified and you know exactly what's going on, but then also knowing when it's okay, now I need to be general.
Yeah. Because if we look back here at the code, right? So let's say that our population, that we just did a population system, but peasants were still separate, we would still need this to be called peasant upgrade, and then we would need something separate for everything else. So figuring that out is it's gonna drastically kind of change over time, but I'm trying to figure out what the best route is for us at a small scale. So I'm trying to small scale the game so we don't have to think about drastic future scaling. So I, as the person who's teaching you guys, have to decide if it's smarter for me to say, well, let's think about future scaling, even though this is something that we may never do, or let's shrink this down so that it stays within the size and scope of the project. And I think the conflict that I'm having mentally says to go ahead and downsize it. And the reason I say that I say that kind of confidently is the problem, if we go back to game, what I'm concerned about is that the word, so we're saying we're buying and we have the population. So this button, when we click it, it's going to take 10 gold. It's going to increase our population. We as the developers know that's what's happening, but I would probably change a little bit of stuff here to make it easier for the user. Because if we do theme this where it is peasants, I would want this to make sense. But the way that we make this sense isn't by changing the word population. It's by doing kind of like what we did here, where we're going to use an icon to demonstrate what it actually is. So this may not say population later, and instead it may be an icon of like a peasant, or it may be an icon of like a little character or something to imply you're purchasing those characters, which could then be themed as it's here's a pirate character, here's a peasant character, here's a king character. And we use that to demonstrate what it is so that we can still build just a population system and then we can skin skin the cat as many times as we want in many different ways. So I am going to vote full downscale to population so that this is a little bit less restricted to peasant theme, and we'll use the actual Unity client to decorate the peasant theme later on. Yay! So that being upgrade text is all. This isn't actually correct, so we're going to say pop upgrade. Pop. Oh no, so pop upgrade is not technically true. It is delivery upgrades technically. Delivery upgrade. Text. All right, and then we're going to fix these. Pop text. Pop higher text. We haven't defined these two values yet. We'll save that. And we know we're going to have to change these. So this is still says peasant. We're going to just change this to pop. Pop. We're going to change this also to pop amount. And that's fine that it's broken right now. We're going to fix it in just a second. Pop cost. We're going to save it. It's going to freak out. And then we're going to go over here and do the same thing. Search peasant. All right, so we're going to go here. Pop amount. Pop amount increment. Pop cost. I'll have to look at these again. We might have to change these terms here. So let's see. Do I have a upgrade cost? Okay, we'll just change these first, and then I'll relook at these. Peasant delivery amount. So it's not a peasant delivery, it's just the delivery system. So we're going to change that to just delivery amount because we're building a delivery system. We're not building necessarily a restricted to peasant only delivery system. So we are building just the delivery system. We do not need to define it as restricted to peasants because we could use this delivery system for all kinds of shit. And pop upgrade cost. All right, so then purchase peasant, instead of calling it purchase peasant, we're going to say it's going to be called increase population. Just going to break some other stuff too. Pop cost. Pop cost. Pop amount. Piggity pop. Okay. Let's see. Cost increment. Ah, we missed one. Ugh. Pop cost increment. Pop cost increment. String there. Save that. We're going to go back over here again. And let's see. Player stats.pop. Puppity pop. All that's good. So then we need to go back to the game. And then here in the game, the button is changed. Hire peasant is no longer purchase peasant. It is now increase population. The term hire peasant for the button is no longer that. It is increase population. The higher cost is now population cost. Our upgrade peasant is not correct. It is, we'll say upgrade delivery. That is fine. Okay. Peasant amount is no longer correct. It is population amount. Gold earn menu. Let's open that up. Header, upgrade delivery, increase population. Let's look at our game manager. Everything is population, population. Delivery is all delivery. Gold is all gold. Oh yeah, that feels great. So tax collection is a term we need to get rid of because that is not technically correct. Even though we know that it's like we're going to be collecting
As
that.
fun as it would be,
Go ahead, say that again.
as fun as it is,
Yeah, as fun as it is, yeah. We could still make tax term relevant elsewhere. But now, if we look at everything, it's nice and super clear what everything is referencing. So gold systems, every variable in here has to do with gold. Population management, every value has something to do with population. Delivery systems, every value has to do with specifically the delivery. So all the tasks should be more, I want to say not constricted, but encapsulated. Those tasks are now all encapsulated with themselves. Now we just need to make sure that it actually works. Nope. Let's see. So it doesn't like the UI controller. Okay, so it's just the text that are missing. So our pop text is our amount. See, we got to change these here too. So here in our UI, let's go back. So we have pop text, pop higher text. So it should be pop amount. Pop higher is actually pop cost. And then we need to go over here to pop amount text, pop cost text, save that, go back over to Unity, check our canvas. All right, so pop amount, pop amount. So you see now the name of the text is the name of the value that we're filling with so that it's not confusing. And then our increase population. Population cost goes into our pop cost text. There we go, more uniform deliciousness. Upgrade delivery, upgrade cost. Could probably see there's 2 upgrade costs, so we don't like that. So therefore, we're just going to change this to upgrade delivery cost. Stay uniform, stay uniform. Make sure it didn't break. Pop amount is population amount. Cost, upgrade delivery, delivery time. Nice and delicious. Let's go ahead and make that change for the upgrade gold to upgrade gold. Cost. So now when we look at our canvas, so we don't just have that way. Now everything's naming should be nice and clean and it should all work. And as we make changes from the game to the code, we're not trying to guess our terms and remember which term we use anywhere else. So a good example of that is in the job that I am no longer working as of today. Well, let's check this real quick. Ding, 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 ding. And then increase our population. Not enough gold. All right, cool. Does this do anything yet? No, it doesn't. Increase our tap. Bam, bam, bam. Hell yeah. Okay. So in an example, we have an inventory system, and the inventory system is based on the SKU or the UPC on the back of an item. And whenever we make a reference to this barcode, somebody scans something in on the front end or the back end, we either reference what's called UPC, sometimes we reference SKU, sometimes we reference original UPC. And we have those 3 different naming conventions for the exact same type of data request. And the amount of times that there is a bug because it's either supposed to be SKU, original UPC, or UPC is astronomical. And so by us having a uniform naming system, we're going to be able to better maintain that structure and scale it accordingly. It will also allow us to continue to mask this as whatever theme that we want. So our naming for our variables should be about the system that we're building and not about the theme of the system. This will also allow us to take this code and use it in other projects that may need to use similar systems. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep, yep.
Cool beans.
Yeah, just like a template you can almost use anywhere else.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back over here. That's the next thing on our list is to start. We need our delivery system. So if we have a population, Jesus, I forgot how to spell for a second. If we have population, the population will deliver a set amount of gold every few seconds. The total amount of gold delivered is going to be based on the pop amount times the, what is the value that we have? Our delivery, wait, no. So pop amount. Yeah, that's right. So we'd say the population amount multiplied the delivery amount. So that's how many pieces of gold that we're going to get per. So yeah, so currently it would start at each individual population would give us 1 gold every 5 seconds. So off the gate, if we had 5, we're going to get 5 gold per 5 seconds. That sounds right to me. Times delivery amount. Let's see. Amount times the delivery amount. And then we need to upgrade the actual delivery amount. Thus, increase taxes. Theme might go here. So we might turn delivery into more of a tax system. So instead of saying delivery, we would probably theme delivery to be the actual tax collection because that's technically what's happening there. Okay, so let's see if we can talk it through. So in player stats, realistically, what we'd want to do for all these systems is have their own scripts, but we're just going to keep on building in player stats because literally once we've created this, that's the last method. Like we literally only need to build the upgrade delivery and delivery system, and then the main loop is done where you can just infinitely increase your deliverables. And then what we'll do as part of the challenge is have you guys is separate things into separate scripts. So for now, we'll make it public. Yeah, we're not going to return anything. It is going to be our delivery. Do we want to say delivery, or do we want to break out the tax system? Do we want to theme that to taxes while we're early? Because we only have 2 systems, 2 words to change. Excuse me. Do we want tax or delivery? Any vote for tax system versus delivery?
Well, if
Maybe
we're trying to keep it modular,
That was two people at once. One person sounded like they're saying
Sorry.
no. I didn't hear the other. Chris, were you saying something as well?
Well, I think we might be agreeing on delivery, right?
Delivery, yeah, and it's because that way it's a system of it's
that's what
going
I was
out and
thinking.
bringing it back, and then we use the game's design to make it clear that it's taxes instead. I'm down with that. All right, so delivery. We'll call it management. I don't know for sure what we should call it. So delivery. Well, let's call it exactly what this one function is. So it's going to be deliver. No, not item. Deliver value. Delivery action. There we go. that's very general. It's the act of delivering. Okay. So if the top amount is going to be above 1, basically, at any time, it's greater than 0. No, that's less. Or rather, this is where we're going to do our shorthand. So we're going to say if it's less or equal to 0, do nothing. So that's all we're saying. This is our blocker. This is kind of like our null check. If that value's not above 0, then we don't need to worry about the rest of the code. So that way we have a nice clean stoppage. Otherwise, we assume it's true that we do have some population so that we can do the rest. So we got to set up a time system to monitor how much time we have been active since start. And then we need to know how much time we need to wait for. Then we need to adjust the time to wait for by the new total of time all together. I'm also trying to remember this at the top of my head. So if I remember, first we need a reference to the active time. So I don't think we need to store the active time. We can just reference it locally. So we're going to do I can't remember if time.time is its own data type, but I'm pretty sure it's just a float. So we're going to say float is current time. Perfect. Okay. Current time is time.time. And we need to compare the amount of time plus the amount of time until we can deliver to determine when we can send. So let me think that out real quick, because in my own head, I believe that is going to be, we need another float. See, time to deliver will be time.time plus the delivery time. Let's see. Let's go over here. Okay, so we know we have the current time. We need to know. Well, I guess technically, if we know current time, we don't need to set current time, but I feel like we do. So let's say if time.time is greater or equal to next delivery time, and let's see, our next delivery time is going to be determined by the seconds, because we're going to update that after it's been met. So each time this is hit, so every time this is true, we increase the next delivery time. So this is going to be if time dot time is greater or equal to next delivery time. Let's just see if we can set this. So then next delivery time equals time dot time plus what was the value called in our code here? What is it called? Oh my god, stuff keeps popping up. Delivery amount, delivery time. It's just delivery time. Yeah, just delivery time. So here we're going to say it's this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this. We don't have a next delivery time, do we? Let's go back over. So there's the active delivery time, and then let's say public float. Let's say next delivery time. I could technically make this local. And what I think is going to happen if I don't preset, so next delivery time should also equal the current delivery time. So if I don't set this, next delivery time is going to be 0. So automatically, the moment we buy a population, it's going to immediately deliver the first set of gold, which we don't want that behavior. We want the next delivery time to be set to only occur still on time. So we need to set the actual next delivery time to be this value at the time of creation. So we might have to mess with this a little bit. But first, let's just see if we can get a time system. So I'm just going to do this. So if time, if it's greater or equal to next delivery time, then we're going to do this. Let's bring this up. And do you guys remember how to put a message in the console log? We're going to just put here, we want to know that delivery time is ready. It's time to do the thing.
It's debug.log.
Let's see. Deliver the gold. The gold with the U.
Segoldo.
Deliver the gold. All right. And so it's only going to start when our population is above. And we're going to just put this in update for right now. Ooh, I don't even think we have an update in here because we're cool. We're super cool. All right. So give me that update. Hell yeah. Bam. So our update is going to run delivery action, which is going to do nothing until we have population. And let's go back over here to our game. And okay, I don't need to attach delivery action to anything. It should just be running. All right, console is empty. This is Jude. All right, got our 10 gold. We're going to buy a guy. Perfect. So that you see how it immediately delivered gold? All right, so there's another one. So then every 5 seconds, we should get one. Oh, yeah. That's what we like. Very nice. So, so the deliver gold, that's going down. All right, so we have a nice, clean little time loop going on right there. So let's do let's go back to our code here. Oh gosh, I clicked on something on accident. Oh no, no, no. Stop it, you. Okay. So let's see if we can figure this out. So we need to one time set the next delivery time to be 5 seconds after this, not the start of the game, but the start of gaining population. So the first time that we get one, we want to then set the value. So I'm thinking we do it in our increased population. So with our increase of our population at the time of increasing it, if the value was 0, so let's say if pop amount is, we're going to say less or equal to 0, um, then we're going to then change the immediate delivery time right here. And my thought process behind this is, so we're gonna increase our population. The first thing it's gonna check is if is currently 0. If it is, or less than 0, we're immediately gonna update our delivery time. Immediately after we do that, then we're going to check and then increase our population amount. So the time at which it takes to actually update our delivery values, by the time this method is done, we're going to get +1 pop. Oh my gosh. We're going to get +1 pop and immediately have a 5-second timer until next delivery. But this never runs again other than one time, because only at one time are we ever going to have less or equal to 0 population. Unless we create some system later on where we nuke the entire city. So let's see if that works. Let's see if this solves it. Let's go back to our game. Okay, let's go here. Oh, not enough gold. Let's create that. We got 1 population. It did not do it. We don't have. Ah! Ah! Okay, will it continue? All right, so let's just make sure that if I buy a bunch of these little fellas, see what's happening while I'm increasing. Okay, so while I'm increasing, it's not messing with the timer each time that I go and upgrade this. So that's great. That is exactly the behavior that we wanted. So I think that works. So then the only thing we have to do now is actually adjust our gold amount to the delivery amount. So let's go back to our code. We have our delivery action. We're going to get rid of these comments. And we're going to keep that debug there for right now. I'm just going to comment it out though, because we may not need it every single time. And then we are simply going to take our gold amount. Gold amount is plus equal to our delivery amount. So our gold should just simply go up. Total amount of gold is going to be based on, oh wait, so that's not entirely true because we need we need the actual value to be delivery amount is going to be based on our population amount, unless we do. Actually, we'll let the upgrade system adjust the delivery amount so that this doesn't have to do any more things other than deliver the value. And when we create the upgrade function will take the delivery amount times population to fix it. So let's just check by simply adding this. Our gold is now going to start going up every 5 seconds. Let's go back to the game. And let's go to our game manager. What do we got? So our gold amount starts. We're going to just start with 10 so that I can immediately do the thing. And our population amount's going to be fine there. Our delivery time is 5 seconds. Next delivery time, we have our delivery amount. Let's say that we deliver 100 gold every 5 seconds, just for the test. Okay, nothing is happening. We have no upgrade, but I can immediately purchase. So then in 5 seconds, I should see 100 gold. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. So now our population system is automatically managing our gold to be more efficient. So then all that's left is to create the actual upgrade system for we need to tie in the amount of time so that we can see when the next delivery is going to hit. Here, let's write all that down. Everything we need to do left. So tie in the delivery UI. Connect the population amount to increase how much delivery comes in. Upgrade the amount per population amount button. And oh, we need menu toggle. And let's see, it's 57. I bet you we can knock out the menu toggle in 3 minutes. Ready? So let's do, let's put it up here just because it's going to be a one-off thing. So public toggle menu. Actually, toggle menu is going to not be in player stats. It is a UI function. We're going to do it here. So void toggle menu. Okay. In order to toggle the menu, we need access to the thing we're actually going to toggle. If we go back to our game, take a look at our canvas. We have resources. That's not it. We have the actual menu itself. And the menu is a canvas group. So we need the canvas group. Back to our code. We need public canvas group menu. And then all we're going to say is, we'll just keep it simple. So let's say, let's see if we can keep it super simple and just say menu dot alpha equals let's do so we have our references, display data. Let's create a new header here real quick and call it well, we'll just say values until we have something else later on. Why doesn't it like that? Does it go away if I add something? Yes, it does. So we're going to create a bool on menu active by default. That is false. We're going to try testing that real quick. Menu active. And then do you guys remember how to do a ternary condition where we're asking if something is true or false to determine what value to do? It starts with a question mark. Does anybody remember that?
I know I'm gonna face palm as soon as I see it, though.
Yeah. So we won't do that right now. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it the primitive way for right now, just because we're gonna go deeper into conditionary stuff later. So we're gonna do it the primitive way right now and just say if menu active the menu dot alpha equals 1. Then we're just going to say else if menu is not active. We're going to use the exclamation point to say it's not, so it's false. Is 0. And we're going to make this public so that we know we're accessing this somewhere. Why doesn't it like this? Public must proceed. Oh, yep, I put it in the wrong spot. So this needs to be public void toggle menu. And then we're just going to attach this to the button. We have the toggle. Call this toggle menu so that we know what it's doing. We go to our on click so that we can set the functionality. And we need the canvas because we need to get inside of UI controller, toggle menu. And then we need to go to our canvas here and we need to set the canvas group for what the menu is, which is right here. So when we press play now, it should default to false. And it didn't. So let's see. Toggle menu. Let's see if that's actually controlling this value or not. Oh, well, technically that worked. So when I click this, it disappeared it. So it's just got something wrong here. Back in our code. So let's go ahead and state it just because we're out of time. Use false is true if it equals true, if mu equals false. Let's just see if that fixes it real quick. Toggle menu. Oh, we don't actually change. That's what that is. Menu active equals false. Menu active equals true. I think that's what it is. It's not this. But let's just double check. Going a little bit too quick. But let's see. And let's see if we press play. And I click this. All right, cool. So now we have our toggle function. And we'll go over it a little bit more in depth when we recap next week. Basically, all we're saying is we're taking the alpha, which is the component of a canvas group.
I love how our toggle button is the question mark instead of the X.
Yeah. Well, the X should close it, so we have to make that backwards connection. So menu toggle needs repair to connect the true, false X button versus the question mark button. So it's technically not entirely done because we have to make it where that actually goes away. And then this button, we press this now to close it instead of using this to toggle everything. We see it is toggling menu active. And when menu active is set, the menu itself right here has a component called canvas group. And all we're doing is setting this alpha to positive, negative. And we also need to set the interactable, because remember we determined at the very beginning that even though the alpha is 0, I can still click things. Yeah. As I just invisibly hired a peasant. So we need to also remove interaction. And we will do all of that and fix that next week.